There we are, recording. Okay. Right? Can instruction assist the language acquisition? Let's see, what do you understand by instruction first? Because I mean, what do we mean by this?
Isn't instruction related to the way we explain the activities that the students are going to do?
Just not just what the activities, but whatever you do in the classroom that has to do with teaching and learning. Now, here perhaps the question is a bit tricky because it talks about instruction and acquisition. And it seems that there is, let's say, like an assumed difference between acquisition and learning. What's the difference between acquisition and learning? Do you know that? Have you studied that?
I'm gonna use Spanish to explain it, but isn't it like aprender and aprender? Acquisition being aprender and aprender being learning?
I don't know whether, Clara, that is really the distinction, because I don't think that it is so clear in Spanish. In fact, I believe that acquisition would be la adquisición natural del lenguaje, which in fact seems to be opposing to instruction. Why? Because when you learn because you know that you are what? You are in a situation, or you are in an environment where you expect somebody to help you learn. But you are well aware that you are a student there to learn something. Okay, so you are conscious that that is happening. And that's why we generally associate instruction to language learning. But is it possible to associate instruction with language acquisition when we believe that language acquisition happens without us being fully aware that we are studying or learning something? Of course, language acquisition can happen in the classroom, but it's always helped by what? By this, let's say, concept of ubiquitous learning. Remember? You are learning all the time. And that's, I mean, not just considering the classroom or when you are doing the homework. That has to do with classroom work, okay? It has to do when you are doing whatever, right, that exposes you to the language. So when we say that we talk about language acquisition, we say that we pick up language. Perhaps you, right, as future teachers, and probably, I guess that you were, you have been very good students while you were learning English, right, at a young age, when you were children or adolescents. Can you really think of the lesson as a place where you had to experience learning as you did with mathematics and chemistry? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it would be different. It's not the same mathematics of. I'm not. I don't know, but it feels different in my heart.
Well, that's it. Right? Why? Clara, if I say, or any of you, okay? Do you really remember how you were taught the verb to be?
No. Well, I don't remember, at least.
Or can you tell me how you learned the verbs in the past?
They gave me a list and I had to memorize them all. And then I had to drill it and drill it and drill it and drill it and drill it.
Did you drill it or did you use it?
Oh, I used it.
Well, that is language acquisition. Okay, it's like you are given, let's say, certain tools, right? But then out of, let's say, a process you cannot fully describe, you start mastering language. Or in fact, can you mention, for example, how you started using some idioms or phrasal verbs? Generally, there is no instruction on that. We picked it up naturally, and that is what we call language acquisition. Now, for cognitivism, in fact, language acquisition was not possible, right, if there was instruction. But then later there were other linguists who said that there was an interface position, that in fact, once you sustain some kind of practice, as you were describing, Clara, in terms of, let's say, having the list and looking at it, and then doing mechanical exercises or activities, if you want to call them, in a way, you ended up absorbing them, right? Without, it was a memorization that didn't hurt, let's say, something like that. Which is not perhaps the case of how you felt about learning in other, let's say, areas of studies, such as chemistry or mathematics. Much depends on your motivation and, let's say, your, in a way, liking. Why not, I would say. Is it clear for you? Now, when we say, well, I want my students to use language communicatively. If you want them to use it communicatively, right, and you are a teacher, your instruction will aim at, let's say, giving the students activities that resemble what? The real world. It will be full of different resources, and it will, in a way, make sense of what they are learning. So that's why this instruction that is thought by the teacher to appear in a way or in disguise, resembling everyday situations, real situations, why not? Or let's say, teaching through topics that are relevant to the students, will make this instruction relevant, and let's say it will enable language acquisition rather than learning. Now, perhaps what we devise would be more suitable for some students and not so suitable or appealing for others. We cannot satisfy everybody, right? But we have to try to do it. Okay, so imagine if you have taught the, let's say, imagine if I teach the simple past as you were supposed to plan, and I teach it, and then all my practice has to do with using verbs with no context. It could be a text about a past anecdote, but it implies the name of nobody. The past events that are mentioned are not very relevant, or something you are not very familiar with, okay? Or let's say they are isolated sentences with subjects that are impersonal. Why not? He, she, they, the person, the man saw a ghost. It's different if you say a man saw a ghost last night than if you write on the board, last night, students, believe me, I saw a ghost. That's different. The impact you are going to make on the students is different, because they are going to start asking questions, or they are going to wonder if the teacher has gone nuts, right? So that's why context, it is so important. Now, did you read anything about the teachability hypothesis? Well, in fact, I asked you to do so. Can anybody make a contribution, please? Their concepts are in, yes, Franco. Thank you.
Hello, Sandra. Does that have something to do with these moments called teachable moments?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
No, because what you're referring to, Franco, is incidental teaching. These teachable moments are related to incidental teaching. That is, when something that you have not planned comes out in the class, it's a question that the students may have that is related to previous topics or a topic that is derived from what you have planned to work on, right? And well, you take advantage of that situation and you teach it. That is what you are referring to, Franco.
Oh, okay.
That is a different case. The teachability hypothesis. Well, I need you to be honest. Have you read chapter 4, the first part, on Feuerstein's mediation theory? I need to know, because if not, because I don't want to be talking to the void, right? Or asking questions and not being answered. Please tell me. Be honest. I mean,
I remember some things on the that I read for Seminario 1, or this part of mediation, but not teachability. I can't remember anything about that.
Because I uploaded on the Google Classroom. But I'm not talking
Yes.
to you, Franco. I'm talking to everybody, right?
Oh,
I mean, don't feel that you are the one that is that has to answer. What about the rest?
Hi, Sandra. No, I didn't read chapter 4 for today.
Me neither.
Sorry.
Me neither. Sorry.
Okay, right. That's why you are not answering. What about, has anybody? Well, my question now changes. Who has read it? Let's change the question.
I haven't, sorry.
Okay, but I want to know, has anybody? I cannot see the chat. Remember that when I'm sharing the screen, that is, let's see. There is somebody has written on the chat. Emiliano says he hasn't. Okay, well, anybody who has? Well.
I did want to ask if perhaps the teachability hypothesis was related to something Vygotsky used to say, in that, okay. So
yes.
the like instruction can only be promoted if I don't know how to explain it, but I remember that we dealt with that, and it was connected to something Vygotsky said.
Well, the teachability hypothesis, just to help you get some let's say, vague idea, general idea of what it is. It has to do with the zone of proximal development. Remember that in the zone of proximal development, the teacher prepares activities, input, materials, and resources. And she's got all that ready to sort of show the students new language. Let's talk about language learning, right? And to see if the learner becomes aware of this new language and shows at the beginning understanding, identification, why not differentiation, and progressively he will, let's say, in a way, start grasping this new language and becoming more autonomous in terms of the usage. Now, when we talk about this teachability hypothesis, we talk about that moment when the teacher realizes that the students are ready to make, let's say, this, to take the step of, let's say, grasping the new language, but accommodating it or incorporating it, if we want to talk in Piaget's words, into their own, let's say, schema, right? So I'm going to give you an example to make it, let's say, more concrete. Imagine that you have been working with the students, right? On what? On routine. And well, you know that the students, right, know some, let's say, everyday situations and activities that we all do, such as get up, okay, I don't know, do the homework, have dinner, lunch, and all that. And well, for some specific, let's say, activities that do not happen every single day, you may think of teaching what? How to express frequency. So when are the students in this teachability moment? When they are ready, okay, because they already know how the simple present works and what it implies and what it includes. So if you add up to that simple present schemata, if you want to call it, you add up the frequency adverbs, right? Well, it will be something that will naturally be absorbed and adapted, and it will become something clear that the students will start using, right? Because they are ready. You do not, there is like a natural process or order that we teachers sort of are used to. And what is that? Generally, we follow what? The progression that is in terms of language topics. And when I say language topics or language points, I mean vocabulary and also skills, right? When we follow these textbooks that generally have an organization, right? That in a way, let's say, builds topics, right? Related one with the other, right? So generally they are organized in terms of frequency, right? And why not simplicity? Okay, so it's no coincidence that everything starts with the verb to be, probably because it's the one we use the most when we speak, right? Okay, so that is what teachability hypothesis is. I mean, we are going to, let's say, show the students new knowledge and make them see how it works, request them to do different actions when we believe they are ready. Now, think about this. With lower intermediate students that are, let's say, they know, imagine they have very clear the use of the simple past. Let's say they know how to express, ask and answer questions about past events, right? That is a function. They are able to narrate and, let's say, in a way, why not produce a coherent but simple story, right? Will you think that they are ready to regret about past actions? I mean, using if only or I wish, if something in the story or in their anecdote, in their narration didn't go well, are they really ready for that? That is the teacher's decision. I guess they are not. Because the structures, right, that you need to teach regrets about the past are not so close to that of expressing or narrating past events in isolation. I mean, just thinking about past events and the simple past. So in that case, the teachability hypothesis says, no, they are not ready for that. Why don't you teach other things before that? Okay, like models of deduction. I think that is more plausible and easier. It would be easier for the students, right? So that would be an example. Well, I am really interested in you reading what mediation implies, because it is directly connected to what you are doing in your lesson plans. So the idea, I don't want to be feeding you with information. You are the ones that have to read it and discuss it with me, okay? And I understand, right, that you are concerned with the 10 tests and that you've got to do a lot of things, but it has been the case for all the year long. So what I'm going to do is perhaps put off this discussion for next class. But the thing is that we are running out of time and there are a lot of things that I want you to read, okay? So what we're going to do is we will put off these questions. We will talk about them next class or next Wednesday. And now I'm going to show you what I wanted to share with you today. That in fact, I was planning to read this with you, okay? Well, now let's read this chapter from the second part of the book, Didáctica para Profesores de a Pie, written by Liliana Sanjurjo. And I included here, right, let's say the whole chapter, which is not very long, okay? Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Listen, I just wanted to say that I'm not angry at all. I mean, I'm worried because I'm running out of time. That's the only thing. I'm not running out. Well, Zoom is saying that we are running out of time, that the session will be finishing in 10 minutes. Yes, but I feel that we are running out of time because the year is finishing, and I won't be able to go on giving you lessons, right? And I want to cover at least this chapter, the previous one that was written by Sanjurjo, that I'm going to upload it. And I would like you to finish reading the mediation theory of Feuerstein in the chapter I uploaded, okay? Because they will be necessary. There are many aspects you need to take into consideration. Well, I think it was last class that we were talking about techniques and resources and strategies and materials, and there was some kind of confusion because in fact sometimes it much depends on what you're referring to, that these let's say words may overlap in a way, and sometimes they are not so easily distinguishable, right? So let's read what Liliana Sanjurjo has written on this. It says, aclaremos técnicas, procedimientos, estrategias, recursos, comprender qué hace el profesor en el aula. I'm going to start reading, and then when I get tired, you will go on, okay? Some of you. Diversos dispositivos utiliza el docente para organizar y concretar sus clases, a veces sin poder dar cuenta de ellos y sin que eso sea indispensable. Pero algunas aclaraciones pueden resultar operativas. entendemos por dispositivos los espacios, instrumentos, mecanismos o engranajes que facilitan, favorecen o pueden ser utilizados para la concreción de un proyecto o resolución de alguna problemática. Acordamos en el sentido que lo trabajan Morín, 1994, Souto, 1993 y Perrenut, 2005, entendiéndolo como un artificio complejo, pensado y utilizado para plantear alternativas de acción. Como señala Souto, se trata de un concepto prometedor, tanto desde el punto de vista instrumental como conceptual, ya que los dispositivos son instrumentos que se crean o se aprovechan para resolver problemáticas contextuadamente y tienen un alto grado de maleabilidad que permite adecuarlo permanentemente, lo que lo diferencia del método o de la técnica. Tomamos este aporte pensando en esa maleabilidad que es lo que lo debe caracterizar y debe caracterizar las decisiones didácticas. Well, my question is, ¿me pueden dar un ejemplo de dispositivo? ¿Son espacios, instrumentos, mecanismos o engranajes?
A course book, the classroom.
Classroom, just a computer. Now,
Not a computer.
not a computer.
No, it has, that is another thing.
Hmm.
We are going to that.
Visual aids,
Okay.
such as
No,
pictures.
those are no.
and-
No.
No?
The classroom it is. Why? Because if you think about the classroom, not in the physical aspect, not just the building, let's say. The classroom as a place that that has an affective dimension, social dimension, didactic and pedagogic dimension. That is to say, what happens in the classroom? If you, let's say, give a party, it is not un dispositivo. It's just un salón. Okay? Now I'm talking about the classroom as a place where learning happens. Teaching and learning, both. So why? Because in the classroom you may decide to use that place where the students are going to work in pairs, they are going to interact with the teacher in lockstep, they are going to use the board. I mean, many things that have to do with their learning happens. And everything that happens there, it is done with a purpose. That's why it is un dispositivo. El aula como clase, como lugar de clase expositiva, práctica, etc. That's okay. Can you think of another one? Yes, Fede, you wanted to say something.
No, Emmy wrote Zoom on the chat. Is that a dispositivo?
Okay, now I would say it's a resource, but then I will tell you why.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Try to think of things that you do that have to do with teaching and learning. I mean, spaces or rooms or types of work that has to do with teaching and learning or education. For example, I'll give you another example. Los días institucionales. La jornada institucional es un dispositivo. ¿De qué? ¿Se dan cuenta? Es un instrumento que se usa para la sociabilización y la sociabilización y la interacción entre las autoridades y los docentes con cuestiones que tienen que ver con lo escolar, lo inmediato. ¿Sí? Entonces se puede usar como instrumento de trabajo que atiende lo didáctico, lo pedagógico, lo administrativo, ¿ok? ¿Se entiende?
Yes.
I have a question, Sandra.
Yes.
When it says instrumentos, is it referring to the infrastructure of the classroom, right? Like
Yes.
blackboard, desks, and all that?
En realidad es como materiales. Hasta puede ser legislación el instrumento. Es como muy general. Sí, sí, sí. ¿Se les ocurre otro dispositivo? La clase expositiva es un instrumento, es un dispositivo. Es decir, es una forma de dar clase. Utilizando el aula, o en este caso, el aula virtual. Porque si pensamos en el dispositivo acá sería el aula virtual. No es Zoom. Zoom es el instrumento o el recurso que yo utilizo para hacer que esto se convierta en un espacio de mediación. ¿Se entiende? ¿Lo entienden eso? Necesito que me digan si sí o no.
Yes, yes.
¿Yes? ¿Se
Yes.
entiende? Es como que el dispositivo es como que tiene, como que combina recursos, instrumentos, lugares, pero hay una organización atrás. ¿Sí? El taller es otro. El Ateneo es otro dispositivo. Y hay otro ahora que está bastante, que se ha vuelto bastante frecuente, ¿sí? Es el conversatorio, que es un espacio de sociabilización no tan formal, de prácticas generalmente o experiencias áulicas. No sé si han escuchado. ¿Qué tiene el conversatorio? Que es un poco menos, digamos, menos formal y estructurado si lo comparo con una charla o un seminario o una jornada de capacitación. Esos son los dispositivos. Entonces, ¿con qué dispositivos cuentan ustedes en este momento para dar lugar a sus planificaciones, a sus lesson plans? Se nos está por terminar, después nos volvemos a juntar. ¿Cuál sería?
These lessons, these meetings, right?
The meetings.
No, pero piensen en sus lesson plans.